if you need the reminder to always enjoy your hobby and not let it stress you out, here it is. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Blech. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Knits by Mandy. My name is Amanda, and today in this video I want to talk about my 2023 knitting resolutions as well as my 2023 knitting plans. I have a few resolutions that I'd like to share, and then I've also picked out 9 patterns that are kind of functioning as a make 9, but it's more of a rough, loose vision board. I would say some things I'm very sure that I want to make, and other things are kind of placeholders for the type of garment I like to make. Not to say that these aren't good patterns, but I might not end up making them, is what I'm saying. So they're rough plans, but this is what I'm feeling inspired by at the beginning of the year. I went back and watched my 2022 knitting plans video, and I think it was the second video I ever posted on my channel. And it's just really funny to see where my inspiration, how I've drawn it has changed, and what I'm interested in making has changed as well over the past year. So with that, let's get started with my resolutions. This is something I actually talked about in last year's video, and I honestly like to stress it in any video I can on my channel because I'm a very strong believer and evangelizer for this, and that is that if you're electing to do this hobby in your free time, you should have fun and it shouldn't stress you out. So I've, not to brag, honestly think I've done a pretty good job on balancing feeling good about the things that I'm making and the things that I'm posting without holding any unnecessary pressure for me to make things either for other people or to actually give to other people, or just to post them because it's something that I see a lot, and just really working on honing what I find interesting versus what is popular. And there's very good reason that a lot of things are popular, but I think it's also very easy to fall into making something just because you see it a lot on social media. If you're on knitting social media as much as I am, I'm on it pretty frequently, and I think that affects it also. But it's also how I get a lot of inspiration. So far, again, not to brag, I do feel like I've cultivated a healthy relationship with that, and I just want to make sure to continue. I'm still doing that and still really enjoying both crafting, making, and also posting as well. I don't want anything to become unsustainable because, like I said, I do this for fun and I want to have fun with it. This is so hot. So these next resolutions are a little bit more concrete. They're actually things that I would like to implement or do or learn. And the first thing that I would really like to do this year is try stranded color work. And I'll talk a little bit, I guess, in the next section about what I see, what patterns I see to fit that goal. But that's just something I want to try. It's a skill I have not yet learned. I did a little intarsia project actually 2 years ago now. And I actually forgot to put it in my what I made this year video because I basically ruined the garment when I blocked it. But anyway, it was like a cow print intarsia, but I haven't done stranded, and I feel like it's just a good technique to know, first of all, and I'm interested in playing with color more that way and having multicolored garments, which right now I don't really have. I think they're all one color. So would very much like to learn that skill and either, knit a circular yoke colorwork sweater, or there's another pattern that I have in mind, which I'll share later. The next thing that I would like to focus on this year is being extra diligent about swatching and fiber choice. The more I knit, the more I understand how important these two things are to making a garment that will fit and that I will like and want to wear. I feel that in reviewing my what I made this year video, if you haven't watched it yet, it's on my channel. In reviewing that video, what I learned in watching is that I think any thing I didn't like about the patterns really came down to either the fit or the fiber. So for example, I made camisole number 5 in merino wool, and it turns out that a merino wool camisole is not the most practical thing for the climate that I live in. So of course, these are all learning experiences, and I'm so glad that I had them last year. And there are just some items that I straight up didn't swatch and they didn't fit. So there's not really an excuse. And also, yeah, that's it. I got a little sidetracked because I noticed that you can see that I have 2 nails missing. But I like threw the kit out because I'm moving, and so I don't have replacement nails. And we're just living with this. This is my reality. I always keep it real here on Knits by Mandy. But yeah, being more diligent about fiber choice and swatching, I think will just help ensure that I really like my garments, and also doing some more front end research on materials before I purchase them for a garment. For example, I made my boyfriend's sweater his Christmas gift this year in superwash wool, and I've learned that's not necessarily advised, and I've learned I don't really like working with superwash wool anyway. So all of these things, like, you don't necessarily know until you try it. And I did some more trying last year, and I'm eager to kind of put my lessons to the test and apply them and make sure that I'm making things that fit and make sense as well. My last resolution is somewhat social media related, but maybe not in the way that you think. I would like to be better about updating my Ravelry. As I grow my social media presence, I think it might be helpful, one, for people that follow me, but also having Ravelry projects in also just helps other Ravelry users and people looking to like see examples of projects and see fibers used. I have gained so much knowledge by like going through deep, long scrolls in Ravelry. So I kind of want to pay it back a little bit and make sure that my information's up there. And then also, I'm not sure how good I'll be at keeping good project notes, but I was realizing also while filming my year wrap-up video that I'm having a harder time remembering like the specifics. And you think that you will, but she won't. And I think that's also just a really good life lesson, is just write things down. Just write things down. You're not gonna remember it. So in the spirit of writing things down, I'd like to have my Ravelry be a better resource for other social media users, but also me. It's a little selfish that way too. Those are my resolutions. Every year, I think both personally and knitting wise, I'm not someone who likes to set goals that are like, I want to do this many things and like have this done by this date. Like, I don't like to make SMART goals for myself. And if you're familiar in, I'm not sure if this is something that spans outside North America, but that's usually kind of a more corporate acronym, SMART. So I think I don't even know. Oh, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Blech. And I saw a TikTok that was actually like, SMART goals are just targets. Like, you're not actually making a goal. You're just making like a target for something you want to achieve. And that really resonates with me. And I found personally, when I make more kind of like theme-based goals or more broader ideas, I feel like that gives me room to either interpret that rule differently or add new like ideas throughout the year without feeling like I'm bound to like these arbitrary numbers that I made up in January, because life, she's unpredictable. You never know what's gonna come your way. And I don't necessarily think it's wise to set yourself up with these goals not knowing what your year is gonna look like, and then feel some type of way if you don't reach those goals. Maybe I am just like protecting myself, but I find this is what works best for me. And so I don't feel like you have to set up like specific numbers of things that you're going to get done in the year when you really don't know what your year is going to look like. So that's why my number one rule is have fun. And I think that really also ties into it as well. So with that, those are the ideas that I'd like to keep in mind and the resolutions I'd like to keep in mind as I'm knitting this year. And now let's talk about some patterns that I'm feeling inspired by and some ideas about what I want to spend my time knitting this year. The first item, I think these are in no specific order, but the first item that I know I definitely want to make is the Harlow sweater V-neck edition by cadiree. And this pattern is not yet out, but I believe Sabina of cadiree is wanting to release it like mid-February. I did apply to be a tester. I have not heard back yet. So either it's something I would cast on soon or something I'd cast on later in the spring, which either I'm fine with. But I have one V-neck sweater that I really love. I've always loved V-necks. I feel like there's a certain like femininity about having that exposed that I really like. And I love the 2x2 ribbing detailing in this sweater. So I think this would be a great staple piece. I would love to use the Roan DK by Primrose Yarn Co. that I bought at Rhinebeck this year to make it. And yeah, I am looking forward to making that, whether I can be a tester or if I just buy the pattern. I'd be happy to do either. This is the only sweater I've applied to test, so it might not be likely that I get it, but you never know. And I think this would be a really great contribution to my wardrobe, just a very basic drop shoulder design sweater. After knitting the Ingrid sweater, I've really noticed that I like the drop shoulder design. I did one drop shoulder, I think my first year, but it's a sweater that doesn't really fit that well in a fiber that I don't like. So making this has made me be like, ooh, thinking about drop shoulders more. And I really like a relaxed oversized fit. So just thinking about how much wear I get out of this, I feel like something with similar ease in a similar shape, I would also get a lot of wear out of. The next pattern I have on the list is also not available yet. And then I think everything other than that is out. So I'll start with these two knits that are currently in testing or about to be tested soon. And the second knit is the, I think, Marysia cardigan by Vert and Rose Knitting. This is a cardigan I actually saw when I recently started my Whitmore cardigan this winter. And I was like, oh, dang it, I would love to knit that. It's so pretty. It has this texture that's almost kind of similar to the Jenny jacket by PetiteKnit. I'm not sure what you would call it, but it almost looks like these ovals or these chains that interlock throughout the cardigan. And it's a raglan design, and I love the color that the sample is knit in. I also would really like to knit something in a green color. I don't have any green sweaters that I've made in my wardrobe, so that's something that I would love to add this year. And maybe even knit it in like a lighter yarn or like a cotton wool and make it more of like a versatile layering piece for my wardrobe. Because the cardigan I'm making right now is mohair and wool, and it's going to be really warm. So having another cardigan that's lighter and that's great to throw on for Zoom calls, I think that would be great. So I'm looking forward to the release of that pattern. Maybe I'll be able to make it this spring, but I am excited to see what the pattern looks like when it comes out. Next one that I have on my list is the June top by PetiteKnit, and these next two patterns are actually just ideas for remaking two finished pieces I already have. I don't have them with me, but I will put in pictures of what they look like, and you can see me try them on in my What I Made This Year video. But the first one is this drops free pattern that I made with drop saffron and created a marling look. I hated this tank top. You can probably see it on my face in whatever screenshot I pull. And the drops patterns, they're not good. I will say that. That is the consensus I've learned from the community, from looking on Reddit. I've also learned that drops steals patterns from designers, which is not very cool, and they're not very well written, so I would not recommend them. With that being said, I definitely want to frog this project because I love the colors and I think they're really fun. I love cotton tanks, is something that I've learned in the past 2 years, especially for where I live. And I also love that the June top is supposed to be able to hide your bra. So I just need to make sure the gauge works out, but I would definitely like to make that and repurpose that white and brown yarn for this project in the next year. The next project that I would like to redo is my Ingrid top by Gregoria Fibers, and this was something that I did not gauge swatch for, and I ended up really paying the price for because it does not fit me correctly, and I wish it would have less ease than it does right now. So I may end up just knitting a smaller size, but I think what I want to do is frog the entire thing and then just re-knit it. It's made with Sanascarn Line, which is like a beautiful yarn. I love the yarn, and I just want to make sure it has good use, and it's an item that I'll want to reach for more in my wardrobe. At the time of making it, I was not into the idea of like remaking it again, but I think it'll be enough time will pass in between finishing it like last August and remaking it this August that it shouldn't be too big of a deal. And that's the other nice thing with summer knits too, is just they work up so quickly that I think I'm less intimidated about having to remake it after frogging. So I would like to right my wrong and make a new Ingrid top that I will wear. Next, 2 sweaters that I have for my colorwork inspiration on my list are the Strange Brew by Tincan Knits. And from what I understand, this is a customizable colorwork pattern that has different colorwork motifs in the pattern that you can mix and match in the yoke. And to start with this one really interests me because I think, first of all, it's something that I could reuse, and I don't necessarily like view my patterns often as something that I'll get more than one use out of, which is fine, but it might be nice to have something to kind of revisit something if I have it in my collection for a while. So I like the idea of customization and things like that. Customization and being able to reuse it. And it's also a size inclusive pattern. The other pattern that in the same vein I'm really inspired by, and this is one that's all over my explore feed on Instagram, is the Porcelain sweater by Knit. And this sweater has less size inclusivity. I think it goes up to a 56-inch bust instead of the full 60, which I don't love. I guess I could message the designer and see if, you know, like maybe there's a reason why she didn't include a larger size range. I may do that. And the Porcelain sweater, I'm really inspired by the idea and the color selection. So in order to kind of make it look like either porcelain or like that French blue and white porcelain, I know that there's also like Chinese art that has that look, but I don't know the name of it. Or like Chinese China, like China flatware plates, ceramics that have the blue and white intricate details. The sweater has like bright cobalt blue contrasted on like a white cream base, and I'm really interested in those colorways. So I'm mulling over this one more to see if this is something that I feel will be a long-lasting piece in my wardrobe, just because I'm not sure, like that's just like not a color I've worn a lot, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. I'm not sure where we'll go, but those are kind of my ideas for a colorwork sweater. I may end up going with something completely different, that might not even be till next fall. I'm not sure yet. I'm a little kind of like still feeling that one out. Next pattern that I have on my list is a homeware, and that is a knit blanket. The pattern that I'm currently inspired by is the Terra blanket by One Wolf Dog blog. And it's just a gingham pattern blanket with a little bit of texture. It is a bulky blanket and it's made with Lion Brand wool ease. I think held double so it's like 2 Aran weight yarns held double, and I think that would make a nice feeling fabric. And it has a texture. I'm not exactly sure what the stitch pattern is. So I'm interested in just making a blanket for my apartment. I knit an Afghan this year for my great aunt, and I was like, I want one for myself. This would be so cozy. So this is just an idea. Another fleeting idea I had after looking at this blanket was like, oh, this kind of looks like those Hermes blankets that influencers have on the sides of their couches with like the H's and the color blocking, except the color, it's not gingham, but it's like orange and white and it has like an H on it. And I was like, what if I made one? What if I made something like this blanket, but it had A's on it because like me and my boyfriend's name both starts with the letter A. I don't know if that's a dumb idea and if I would like it, but it's an idea that I have, and honestly, if you want to do it, please do it. I'm giving that to you. I'm not sure if that's something I want to do, but that is an idea. I've also seen the log cabin blanket, I think by Pearl Soho, and I love that. I think a gingham blanket a garter stitch blanket would be really nice and squishy. I actually have a garter stitch blanket from IKEA. It's not handmade, but I love the texture of it, and kind of like a looser gauge. It can be nice. So want to knit a blanket. Oh, another knitting blanket pattern that I've had my eyes on for a while is by PetiteKnits. I believe the full pattern hasn't been released yet for like her big colorwork patch blanket, but she has an advent knit along, and also she releases like free monthly like colorwork squares that you can add to your blankets. I just think that project would be so cool, but it's honestly very intimidating to pick out colors, and I've never done color work before. It would be a good way to learn. So I don't know. I'm not sure what if I will want to tackle that. That might be a really fun Advent project to do, or like a fun December project. So that's something I've also thought about. So I definitely want to make another blanket. They take a bunch of time, especially more if you knit them versus crochet them. But we'll see where this year takes me as far as the blankets go. The next thing that I have on my list is something I hope to cast on soon. My boyfriend's mom got me a gift card to Magpie Fibers for Christmas, and they're from Frederick, and so the Magpie Fibers flagship store is in downtown Frederick, so I like to go there whenever we're visiting, so I would really appreciated that. I had to order online, but I ordered their MCN base. I think it's called Swanky Sock. I ordered the Swanky DK though, so it's merino, nylon, and cashmere in the color, I think it's Bougie Beaver, which I think is a hilarious colorway name. It's kind of like this like rose gold beigey colorway, and I would love to make a matching pair of fingerless gloves and a hat with that yarn. So we will see. That hasn't arrived yet, but that's something that I'd like to pick up soon. I watched actually an old well-loved, I don't know if she posted it this year or last year, I can't remember, but Well Loved Knits has a video where she does very simple fingerless gloves. Emily from High Fiber Knits kind of talked about having simple like very basic winter accessories, and I realized I don't really have a matching set, and I would like to have that. So that is something I'd like to do. Just a very simple, like, fingerless glove, stockinette, and a very simple hat. It might end up being PetiteKnit patterns, but if there's other, like, I also feel like I can find good free patterns as well, is what I'll say, when it comes to like winter accessories. So we'll see. If you have any patterns, no hate to PetiteKnit, but I would like to like maybe support other designers this year, or try to, is if you have any recommendations for patterns like for what I've just described. So that is, I'm not sure which number we're on. Let's check my list. I think that's number like 6. No, that's number 7. And I have two more patterns that are PetiteKnit patterns. So let's jump into those. Next pattern, and I actually don't know if this counts, but the next pattern is something that I've already made before, and it is the Ankers sweater. I either would like to make the Ankers sweater or the Ankers tee by PetiteKnit, just because I get so much use out of the one that I have now. So I love the pattern. I feel really comfortable in it. I get so much wear out of it. It's just something that I would like to have more of in my wardrobe. TBD if I'll make the fingering weight version or if I'll make a DK weight t-shirt version. Do you think a DK weight t-shirt would be too heavy? Let me know. But we'll see what I end up making sleeve length and yarn weight wise, but I know that's something that I would like to have. And I think if I end up doing some more challenging projects this year, having the Ankers sweater in my back pocket might be nice as a palette cleanser, something to come back to and revisit. And I haven't also like revisited a pattern after making it once before, other than like hats. So that might be a fun experience that I would like to have. Again, if you'd like to see my Ankers sweater, you can check out what I made this year. But yeah, the shameless self-promotion. I used to feel really weird about it, but now I'm just like, hey, I made all this content. It's here for you to view. I'm directing you to it. Okay. The last pattern that I have is also a bit of a placeholder for an idea that I've had for 2 years now. Last year, I really wanted to make a dress, and I thought I wanted to make like a long sleeve dress or a winter knit dress, but after thinking about it, I don't wear sweater dresses all that often because I work from home. So hear me out. Like, to me, to wear a dress from home in the winter means I have to wear tights, and that automatically makes it not as comfortable as like throwing on a sundress in the winter, which is something that I do often. And something that I've thought about and have been thinking about for over a year is this Instagram post of the Cumulus blouse or the Cumulus Cumulus top, knit straight down as a dress. This is by PetiteKnit. I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm not sure if exactly this top of the camisole is something that will be as versatile as I think it would be, just because it's spaghetti strapped and v-neck, and so I'd definitely, if I wanted to like wear it to work or something on Zoom, I'd have to put a cardigan on or a t-shirt underneath. That's not the end of the world to me. This would be quite the undertaking because I believe that this is knit on fingering weight yarn. I could always do some adjusting, but I think that would make some beautiful drape. I could splurge on pure silk by knitting for olive. Maybe in like a bright summery color. It would be so pretty. It would be so awesome. It would be so cool. So that's another one that I have to really mull over and be like, okay, this is a huge undertaking and probably expensive using the materials I just listed. So I'll have to think more about it. I have thought about making a knit dress really for a while, and I think this is the year that I would like to do it. So those are my patterns. Like I said at the beginning of the video, these are really, some of them I'm pretty sure that I want to make, like some of the sweaters I'm pretty dead set on. But others are kind of holders for ideas that I have, or, you know, techniques that I'd like to master over the year. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you need the reminder to always enjoy your hobby and not let it stress you out, here it is, as we are getting so much like planning videos and resolution videos. I'll be the one to remind you to have fun with it and not take it so seriously, and remember the reason why you do it in the first place. And with that, I will see y'all probably at the end of the month for a podcast episode. Yeah, I'll see y'all soon. Bye.